Yes, hello guys. Let's start with words do not pay in my perspective. So, at first, we uh, should watch a video about this story. You know, the famous speech of Nez Perce leader. So, let's watch.
In the late 1700s, a gentle people thrived in the forests of the American Northwest. Expert horse handlers and breeders, the tribe lived harmoniously, hunting, fishing, and trading horses with neighboring tribes. Nurtured by a bountiful land and surrounded by natural beauty, the Nez Perce lived peacefully among the tribes of the Pacific Northwest. But soon that peace was shattered. The Nez Perce's first contacts with the new Americans began in 1805 along the Lolo Trail, an ancient hunting route in the Northwest. The Indians discovered American explorers Lewis and Clark and their expedition. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark stumbled upon the Nez Perce while exploring the Pacific Northwest under Thomas Jefferson's orders. The pair were lost and starving. The Indians took them in, fed them, and cared for their horses, saving their lives. The explorers were grateful, but Lewis and Clark's eventual reports to Washington, describing the bountiful lands and gentle natives of the Northwest in short time, drew many settlers, dooming the Indians of that land. By mid-century, settlers had flooded into the land of the Nez Perce, 13 million acres in what became Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. Here they settled and established ranches, overwhelming the Nez Perce way of life. Conflicts arose between those two very different cultures. Many settlers ignored Indian ancestral rights to the land. Others stole horses and killed the Nez Perce in disputes. Often these acts against the Indians went unpunished. In 1855, over the objections of the majority of the tribe, a group of lower chiefs signed a treaty in the name of the Nez Perce, which gave the United States 3/4 of the tribe's traditional homeland. The Nez Perce upper chiefs called it the Thief Treaty. Unfortunately for the Nez Perce, gold was found on the remaining land. Just 8 years after concluding the first treaty, the government wanted a new agreement, taking away 90% of the tribe's remaining land.
I think the simplest way to view the Treaty of 1863 is that it was a big government scam inflicted on the Indians to open up the gold fields to continued white exploitation. And if it took devious methods, if it took blatantly immoral, dishonest methods, then so be it. And that is exactly what happened.
About half the tribe refused to sign the new treaty, but the government ordered all Nez Perce to come to the reservation. Several bands refused. Leading the resistance was Old Chief Joseph in the Wallowa Valley of Oregon. The old man's reasoning was as powerful as it was simple. Since his band didn't sign the treaty, they still owned the land they had always lived on. In 1871, Old Joseph died, charging his son, also named Joseph, with the task of carrying on the resistance.
I pressed my father's hand and told him I would protect his grave with my life. I buried him in that beautiful valley of winding waters. I love that land more than all the rest of the world. A man who would not love his father's grave is worse than a wild animal.
For the next 5 years, U.S. authorities tried to get Joseph, his followers, and his allies to come to the reservation, but they refused to give up the land they insisted they never sold. The government gave the responsibility for resettling the Indians to General Oliver Otis Howard. General Howard, who wished to avoid violence with the Nez Perce, did all he could to persuade Joseph and the others to come to the reservation, reasoning with them, coaxing them, and eventually threatening them. Howard ordered Chief Joseph to bring his people to the reservation within a month or be taken there by force. Chief Joseph reluctantly told his people that they must accept the inevitable. May 31st, 1877. The Nez Perce began a more than 100-mile journey from the Wallowa Valley across Hell's Canyon and the Snake River en route to the reservation in Idaho. They carried everything they owned. June 2nd, 1877. Joseph's band camped near White Bird Canyon, just a few miles south of their new reservation. There they talked of their loss of freedom and their mistreatment over the years. Some talked angrily of revenge. Seething with rage over the injustices, 3 young men rode out seeking revenge against their oppressors. They killed more than a dozen settlers. When Joseph and the other chiefs heard of the acts of the youths, they were horrified. They knew that war was now inevitable. Determined to stop an uprising, General Howard ordered his cavalry to bring in Chief Joseph's renegade Nez Perce. In the ensuing battle at White Bird Canyon, 33 U.S. soldiers were killed. There were no Nez Perce casualties. Mid-July, 1877. Fearing government reprisals, the tribe set out on a 250-mile trek across the Bitterroot Mountains between what are now Idaho and Montana. But what began as a 250-mile trek became an over 1,500-mile chase as Nez Perce men, women, and children attempted to flee to freedom. They followed the Lolo Trail. Along this trail, where in 1805 their people rescued Lewis and Clark, the Nez Perce were now running for their lives. Pursuing the Nez Perce were General Howard and 700 soldiers. July 26, 1877. Howard and his men were 9 days behind the Nez Perce. They were bogged down on the Lolo Trail. When Howard wired headquarters to explain the situation, General William Sherman was unsympathetic.
Pursue the Nez Perce to their death. If you are tired, give the command to some energetic officer.
Catching the Nez Perce became a matter of military honor. Crossing into Montana, the Nez Perce thought they were safe. They were unaware that they were also being hunted by Colonel John Gibbon and 160 men moving south from Fort Shaw, Montana. Gibbon took the Nez Perce by surprise in a pre-dawn attack on August 8, 1877. Despite the element of surprise, Gibbon's men were unable to take the camp. They were beaten back by the Nez Perce warriors. Beset with grief and hatred, the tribe would now try to make their way to Canada, beyond the reach of the U.S. military. Howard continued his pursuit, and now joining the chase was Colonel Nelson Miles, racing east from Fort Keogh, 150 miles away, with 400 men. Late September 1877. The Nez Perce, exhausted, made camp alongside a creek near the Bear Paw Mountains. Canada was just 42 miles away. Early on September 30th, 1877, Colonel Miles and his men attacked the Nez Perce encampment. This time, the exhausted warriors could not beat back the attackers, nor could they escape. About half died in the firefight, mostly women and children. Chief Joseph spoke to his people.
I am tired of fighting. The old men are all dead. The little children are freezing to death. Hear me, my chiefs. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more, forever.
With freedom just 42 miles away, the Nez Perce were forced to surrender. Chief Joseph and 400 remaining Nez Perce were sent to Indian Territory, now the state of Oklahoma. There, more than 100 died of disease and oppressive heat. The Nez Perce were never allowed to return to the land where their fathers were buried. Joseph and the others eventually died in a land of strangers. For the Nez Perce, as for all the Native Americans, American progress meant permanent separation from their ancestral lands. These and all the other tribes of Native Americans tried every means imaginable to escape a fate designed for them by American expansion. They attempted to adapt, they tried to compromise, they fought back, and they fled, all to no avail.
Okay, guys. Okay. So I start with a question here. Okay, guys. So we are talking about the life of Chief Joseph, the leader of Nez Perce, the tribe, the American tribe. So Nasr Abanmi or someone else, who can tell me a short summary, a short... Yes, Nasr? Nasr Abanmi? So we are talking about the life of Joseph. Yes, Chief Joseph was to not pay. So here we have, yes guys, Nasr, Faisal Gaid, Faisal Gaid. Yes, Faisal, Nawaf Rashid, Nasr. Guys, yes, okay. So let's start with the yes, background here. Okay, so in 1863, the Nez Perce tribe, so this is the name of the tribe, the Nez Perce tribe. We are talking about the leader of this tribe. So the word Nez Perce, this is the name of his tribe. And we are talking about actions happened in 1863. So in 1863, the Nez Perce tribe refused to sign a treaty. They refused to sign a treatment, okay, that would make them move from their ancestral land, from their inherited land. So make them move from their inherited land and origin to a much smaller reservation in Idaho. So at last, in the beginning, they refused to sign a treaty that would make them move from their inherited land in origin to much smaller reservation in Idaho. Despite the refusal, the United States government sent in federal troops. They sent the army in federal troops to force the Nez Perce off their land, to force them to move off their land. In response, Chief Joseph led his people toward Canada. So, in response, their reaction, Chief Joseph led his people toward Canada in a 3 months. 1,600 mile flight across the Rocky Mountains. So there were mountains between them and Canada. So Chief Joseph led his people toward Canada. Okay, in a 3 month. It means 1,600 mile flight. Imagine the distance. 1,600 mile flight across the Rocky Mountains.
صاد
Yes.
صاد
Yeah.
ممكن بس تشرح بالإنجليزي وبعدين بالعربي
Okay.
ليش ما فهمته.
Okay. He eventually surrendered. Surrender here, it means to give up to the General Miles in 1877. You know from watching the video, after a war between them, and half of the tribe, he lost half of his tribe. And this is we will know after that. So he eventually surrendered to General Miles in 1877 under the terms that his tribe could return to their homeland. Instead, the Nez Perce were sent to Oklahoma, United States, and half of them died during the trip. Half of them died during the trip. In one of many appeals to Congress on behalf of his people, so he talked on the name of his people. So he is the leader, he is the spokesman of his tribe. So in one of many appeals to Congress on behalf of his people, Chief Joseph made his speech in 1879 in Washington, D.C. So we are studying his speech, but this is a background. So guys, Nawaf Rashid, Nasser, Faisal Gaid. Okay. Nasser Abanmi. Faisal Gaid. Faisal. Yes. Faisal
Yes,
Gaid.
teacher.
Yes, Faisal Gaid. I want you to read the background and to explain to us what happens and the occasion of this speech, okay?
Okay.
Yes, start reading.
In 1863, the Nez Perce tribe refused to sign a treaty that would make them move from their
Ancestral.
ancestral
The letter C,
Ancestral.
yes, followed by E, so it's pronounced Sa. Ancestral land. Yes, go ahead, Faisal.
ancestral land, in origin
Yes.
to a much smaller reservation in Idaho.
Idaho.
Despite the
Faisal,
refusal.
Faisal, be with me, be with me. I will ask you here. What's the meaning of tribe here? Tribe. In 1863, the Nez Perce tribe. Huh? Explain to us. Explain to us. So, huh? So we have Nez Perce tribe. A tribe, you know tribe? You know the meaning of tribe, Faisal?
No.
A tribe, it means a group of people. Like here, when I say Faisal Utaibi and Muhammad Zanizi, so these are tribes. You get the meaning? When I say someone is Utaibi, someone is Harbi, someone is Qahtani, someone is Anizi, these are tribes. You know? Faisal,
Yes.
what's the meaning of tribe?
Yes. Like someone Anisi, someone Ihwani, someone Atib.
We call them what? Ah,
Nicknames.
what?
Nickname.
Nickname? Social division in a traditional society consisting of families or communities linked by social, economic, or religious or blood ties. So this group of people linked by blood ties or religious or common culture and dialect typically have a recognized leader. So this group of people have a leader and they link it together, they connect it together by religion, culture, language, okay? You get the meaning? Ya Faisal. Faisal. Ya Faisal.
Yes, I get.
A tribe, it means like we say in Arabic, قبيلة. Okay? Okay, Faisal?
Okay.
So, Nez Perce tribe,
Yes.
the name of the tribe, a group of families, okay? You get it? Faisal?
Yes, I get.
Yes. So the Nez Perce tribe refuse, you know refuse? Explain to me each word, okay? Huh? So we have a tribe, Nez Perce, okay? Go ahead, Faisal. Faisal? Yeah, Faisal.
Yes.
Yes?
In origin too much smaller reservation.
So they refused to sign a treaty. What's the meaning of treaty, Faisal? What's the meaning of treaty? A treaty like a treatment, compromise, deal. You know deal? You know deal?
Yes.
Yes. So refused to sign a treaty that would make them move from their inherited land. Ancestral here, ancestral, this word, ancestral, it means inherited. You know the meaning of ancestral? Ancestral. Faisal.
Mentor شوي.
Ancestral, write them. Ancestral, it means inherited land, their homeland, the land that they get it from their grandfathers and okay. Okay, Faisal?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is treaty make them move from their inherited land in origin to a much smaller reservation in Idaho. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Faisal.
Yes. The refusal, the United States govern,
Government.
government spent in federal troops
Yes.
to force the newspapers
Yeah.
of their land.
So
Response
after
Chief
their refusal, so the government, the United States government, will force them by force to be off their land. Okay, to remove them from their land by the army. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes. So when I say off their land, it means out of their land. Okay. Yes. Nasser, where are you, Nasser? Nasser Banmi. Nasser. Nasser Banmi. Nasser. Nasser Banmi. Yes. Yes, guys. Nasser, Faisal. Where are you, Faisal? So, in response, their reaction, Chief Joseph led his people, led his people toward Canada in 3 months. So, the first reaction in response, the first reaction, Chief Joseph led his people toward Canada in 3 months. 1,060-mile flight across the Rocky Mountains. You know from the map that we saw, there's a mountains, chain mountains between them as border. Okay, so 1,600-mile flight across the Rocky Mountains. He eventually surrounded to General Mines in 1877. After the half of his tribe died, so he by force and
السلام عليكم يا أستاذ.
yes. Where are you?
كيف أنت بس؟ كانت عندي مشكلة بالنت أجهزة تخلص توني مزين.
Yes, start. Okay.
أبدأ.
Yes.
طيب.
Okay.
وين وقفتوا؟
Yes.
وين وقفتوا؟
Start. You see the yellow paragraph here?
البداية.
Yes. You see the yellow
من
paragraph?
البداية يعني.
Yes. I start.
Yes. In 1836, the Nez
In 1863,
tribe
the Nez Perce tribe refused sign
refused to sing a treaty with would make them move from their
ancestral land yes in origin to a much smaller reservation in Idaho. Despite the refusal, the United States government sent in federal troops to force the Nez Perce off their land. In response, Chief Joseph, the leader, Chief Joseph, this is our main character, Chief Joseph, led his people toward Canada in 3 months, 1,600-mile flight across the Rocky Mountains. He eventually surrounded means to give up, surrounded, okay? Surrounded to General Miles in 1877 under the term that his tribe could return to their homeland. Instead,
ايوه يسبب رجعت.
the Nez Perce were sent to Oklahoma, and half of them died during the trip. In one of many appeals to Congress on behalf of his people, Chief Joseph made his speech in 1879 in Washington, D.C. So next time, inshallah, we will study his speech. Okay, guys?